me at the back? Okay, all good. Let's get started. So my name is Nilesh Gule, and today happens to be the first anniversary of me and my family landing in Melbourne. Thank you. Thanks for all this support. And we are going to see some magic with Foundry Local. So who am I? I'm a Microsoft MVP, been an MVP since 2017 or 2018. I'm also a Docker captain, and my name, first name and last name is quite unique. So I never had a problem getting a social media profile with just Nilesh Gule. I like the game of cricket. So as you would expect, most of the people of Indian origin, they love cricket, and I'm not an exception to that. And I work for Avanade. My day job is that of a senior cloud consultant at Avanade. Who here has not heard about Foundry Local? Or even before I moved to Foundry Local, maybe who here has not tried anything on language models or AI, ChatGPT, Copilot? Anyone who has not tried it at all? Okay, that's a good beginning. So you would have probably know there is something called large language models. So in this same context, there is this Foundry Local. Anyone has tried to run the language models locally on your system? What have you used? Olama. Okay. Anything else? Gemma. Okay. I haven't tried Gemma. LM Studio. Yeah. So if you have used any of this like Olama, LM Studio and Gemma, these tools, they allow you to run large language models locally on your machine. What is difference with Foundry Local is this is provided by Microsoft, and there is a fully hosted service, the AI Foundry. So some of those models are available for us to download locally. And in terms of the different components, it has the runtime, which is called as the Onyx runtime. This is again open source by Microsoft format, which is optimized for running these models. There is the management service, which is called as the Foundry Local Management Service. And then we have the actual models itself, which we can download. Good part is if you are on Windows, this would get natively integrated into the Windows as well. So you can run them native on Windows using the Windows AI Foundry. And on top of this, we have the CLI, the SDK, which can be used to inference those models. Mac also, yes. If you are on Mac, then it uses the GPU capabilities of the Mac. And the good part is, depending on the kind of processor you have, it will automatically download the type of model. It has support for GPU, CPU and NPU if you have the NPU based processors. So without any further delay, I would just go into the terminal and let's see how to use the Foundry Local. You would download this. Easiest way is to use the winget package manager, which is a native package manager again for Windows. And once you have the Foundry Local, you can use the Foundry command line or the CLI to see what are the commands. Sorry. Okay. So when I run the Foundry and help or -help, I can see what are the commands supported here. We have three main type of commands or sub commands here. Model is one, the other one is cache, and service is the third one. So as we can see in the description here, model is used to discover, run and manage the models. So if you used Docker, for example, Docker allows us similar kind of things, right? Docker pull, Docker run. So the concept is similar here. We use the model to download and run them. Cache is where the cache is stored, like the physical file where it's stored. And then service is the one which allows us to interact with the model. So let's play around with some of these commands. And let's say Foundry model. Let's see at the model level what are the other sub commands. So we have these commands: run list or ls as a alias, info, download, load and unload. So let's list which are the models which are available. Is it visible at the back? If I reduce the size smaller, would it be okay? No? Okay. The reason I want to do that is to show you the last part, which says that there is this model phi or phi for mini instruct generic, and you can see the two versions, the GPU version and the CPU version. So we will get the list of models which are supported here. I think when I counted earlier, there were 17 models, starting with phi or phi 4, Mistral, and there are different variants like the mini with 128K parameters, 4000 parameters, 14 billion parameters for DeepSeek R1, and so on and so forth. So if I want one of these models, then I can download it or I can run it. So let's see the smallest one here in terms of size, the Quen model. Let's try to download this. So this is how I can initiate the process. If I say run, if the model doesn't exist on my machine locally, it will first download it and then it will run that model.
I think it got the whole life.
Oh. Yeah, thank you for spotting that. So I'm trying to download the GPU version of the model here. $70 KBs, okay. So it should be done in about half a minute. Let's do the CPU one. Okay, sorry. Okay. So in Foundry Local, you have the concept of model ID or the alias. So I can use either the specific version like the GPU or CPU, or I could just give what is the model ID, and it will try to download the most suitable model for my machine. So now we have the model already running here, and let me zoom in a little bit. So we can see here that the model has been loaded. It's Quen 2.5 coder, 0.5 billion instruct parameter CPU, and it gives us an interactive terminal. So usually I try a very simple prompt here saying, tell me something interesting about Melbourne weather in July. And we have the streaming response coming from the model saying, okay, Melbourne, Australia is a beautiful city, vibrant sunshine seasons, famous weather conditions, sunny season, and various other things. So let's go and exit this if I want to exit this interactive mode. Now I want to interact with this model programmatically. If I have to do that, I have to use that service option. I have to use the service to interact programmatically with the model which is loaded into the service. So before I show you the service commands, we can look at the Foundry cache, and let's see what are the other sub commands here. So we have the location, list, remove, and the actual path related to the cache. Let's see which are the models I have locally on my machine. So I've got this DeepSeek R1 Phi 4, the mini reasoning for Phi 4, Quen, and Quen 2.5 coder models downloaded. And this is what I was saying in terms of the alias. So I can use either the alias or the actual model ID. In case of model ID, I'll have to specify GPU or CPU based model. Now to load this into the service, I can use that Foundry service command. And if I run the help for service, again we have similar commands here, like list the models which are already loaded into the service. If the service is not started, I can use start, I can stop it, restart and get the status. So let's check the status first. And the service is already running here. So I can go into this URL and it will tell me that, yeah, it's running at this localhost 5273 port. What's the directory where the cache is storing those models? And that means since the service is running, I can go and interact with this service, or I can programmatically access this service. So I have a small program or a fun program here, which is trying to impersonate some celebrities. So few years back when I was active on Twitter and AI and machine learning was picking up, I had this thought that maybe I will filter out some celebrities, look for their tweets, do a sentiment analysis and then reply in a very funny way. But then I dropped the idea because people might take it in an offensive manner. Now with this local AI, I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So here is an application using .NET which does something similar. So let's run the application and see what it does. So the name of the application is Celebrity Impersonator. It will try to impersonate the celebrities, and think of it like we give it a tweet and say, okay, think of this celebrity replying to that tweet. How would that celebrity respond? That is the crux of this application. So anyone wants to volunteer and maybe give a name for your favorite celebrity? It could be anyone, sports person, movie star.
George Clooney.
George Clooney, okay. It's taking some time to load. Yeah. So while it's loading, maybe we can look at the resource usage. So in the task manager, we can see it's, yeah, it came, yeah. So the CPU and we have the GPU, which is, there is a slight peak here. Okay, let's try to use the application and see what happens. So you said George Clooney. How do you spell Clooney? N-E-Y. Okay. Okay. And what's the tweet you want him to reply to?
Are you going to be the next Batman?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Are you going to be Batman again?
Okay. Let's put some hashtags here. Okay, so I'm putting this tweet saying, are you going to be Batman again? Batman is the hashtag and next Batman. Okay, I've got some swag here. You can take what you want and pass it around. If it gets over, just pass the empty bag back to me. And there we have the response coming in as a streaming response, which says that George Clooney is impersonating here and says, hey there, I would love to swim back into the bat cave, but let's see what future holds. And again, some emojis and Batman hopeful, stay tuned as the hashtags. Who's next? Do we want to continue? Yes. Okay. Next celebrity.
Steve Ballmer.
Okay. Now, I've added a bit of mood part here because as you might know, the Gen AI or generative AI is very non-deterministic, and even we as humans, if we ask the same question to different people, we get a different response, right? So I'm trying to see what would be the response if Steve Ballmer responds to this tweet in a very excited mood. So instead of just a normal response, try to inject some sort of a mood or a behavior here. So we have the emojis, laugh emoji there from Steve Ballmer. and he says, I'm all good for time, but I think I'll stick to the tech and business. Maybe I'll just sponsor the next Batman suit with some cool tech. Okay, maybe one more. Ben Affleck, okay.
Sorry, or Christian Bale, either of them.
Okay, how do you spell Affleck? L-E-C or L-E-K?
L-E-C-K.
L-E-C-K, both, okay. And Ben Affleck is in joyful mood here.
That's not true.
That's not true. Okay, so if you look at the resource usage, what's happening is GPU is still very low, whereas CPU is getting hammered here. And the reason for that is, I think I'm using a CPU based model. Let's go into the code and have a quick look. So currently I'm using a Phi4 or Phi4 model without giving the CPU or GPU. So it's trying to use the CPU version of this model. Let's change this around and let's use, I think I've got a Phi4 mini with GPU or Qwen with GPU or DeepSeek. Which one do you want to try? DeepSeek, okay. Let's go with DeepSeek GPU model. Sorry, please come out. Sorry? Yeah. So again, when the application stops, it again has got a bit of funny thing saying before it says goodbye, it will try to give you a funny response based on the time of the day again. Okay. So now let's run again .NET run with the GPU based model. Watch. Next time. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, so right now GPU is around 2%. Who wants to go next? Next celebrity.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Kevin. Okay.
Superman. Nice one.
Let's see. And the tweet or the thing you want him to impersonate or reply to.
Are you gonna come back as Superman?
Let's give chance to someone else. Your question is already taken. Sorry, you were saying something?
My suit was the best.
Exactly.
Can you repeat, please?
My suit was the best.
Okay. My suit was the best.
Oh, I wore it on top.
Are you liking this? It was the best.
Spider-Man? Okay, let's add Spider-Man. Iron Man?
Awesome universes.
Okay, and now here we see a different response because the earlier model 5.4 was not a reasoning model. Now here this particular model is a reasoning model, so it's trying to think, it's trying to analyze what is the tweet and it's going to respond, but before it responds it's going to think, okay, what should I be responding based on the different criteria that I have specified. And one of the thing I said in my prompt, which is a system prompt, is you should limit the response to 300 characters. So that's where you see somewhere there I need to keep the response within 300 characters. So it's trying to compress the response. Okay, So after thinking for so long, it came back with this. Batman approved. That sounds epic. Thanks for the kind words, you too. The night was a blast. Hope you had a fun too. Check out more stuff on my page. Okay. Yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 more before I hand it over to Will for his magic. Apart from movie stars, maybe let's change the scene and try something else. A sports personality, maybe? Virat Kohli. Okay. My favorite cricketer. But he's in a bored mood. I hope he doesn't say Ben Stokes. Okay, how is the GPU usage? So you can see here, while that response, the streaming response is coming, it's 100% or almost 100% GPU is used, and CPU is very minimal. I hope Virat Kohli finishes thinking. He seems to be thinking too much what to respond to the suit.
If we have multiple threads, can Foundry Local run multiple LLMs in parallel?
Foundry Local service can host multiple LLMs. So you can have more than one model loaded into the service, but you need to have that much memory and the disk space, because those models, they are not very small, right? Yeah. You need to have those many resources. Yes.
Can we install any of the model, or it has to be from just the list that you showed?
So these are what is readily available. You can still load the models from Hugging Face. It's possible.
Question.
Yes.
So, can we, like, once you download the model here, 2 questions actually.
Yeah.
So, can you, like, configure not to give the thinking part and just the output?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first question. And the other one is, can you configure tooling and stuff here as well from the CLI?
So the first part, the question is, can we customize the thinking part, not to do
Not
the
to show
thinking,
the thinking part, just to
just the response, right? I haven't tried it because what I'm doing here, I'll show you the code, what's happening there. It's actually making a call to the API, and whatever response comes, it's just streaming it to the console. So I'm not sure if there is like a JSON output you can convert that into and say, just give me the final output. But this is basically a streaming response coming in. It doesn't have that intelligence to say, okay, it's thinking and the response is different. I haven't tried it, may be possible. What was your second question, sorry?
The second one was like, when you download the model,
Mm-hmm.
so can you, like, do any tooling with it, like set up tooling stuff as well in the CLI?
Again, I haven't tried, sorry, because this is a preview service and was released or was announced just 3 weeks back. In terms of the tooling, there is a capability to call the local AI tools. That's possible. So you can hook in programmatically from the CLI. I don't know if you can do that.
So you have to download the tools and stuff. And
Yes, that's a possibility, yes.
So you can't act like an MCP client.
It can act. You have the
So
MCP
you
support.
can discover the tools if
Yes.
you are supposed to.
Yes, that's possible. Okay. What happened? Okay. So maybe 2 more, just for the different moods and different personality. Anyone wants to give a try?
Elon Musk.
Okay. In a sad mood. Yes.
that generates couple of questions. First thing, is there a support for containerization of these other images available?
You want to run a LLM as a container?
Foundry based images basically.
Mm,
Or we need to build our custom.
Docker itself has a Docker model runner which has come up. Foundry as a Docker container, I don't know if that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah,
And my second question is this completely free to run locally?
completely free.
Commercially as well?
Yeah, completely free.
This is pretty much for your local development, right? The Foundry local development, then we can switch on the very same solution into Foundry online. So
Yes.
this is
Yes, that's correct. It's compatible with the OpenAI SDK and the Azure AI SDKs as well. So that's where I'm getting to next. You're sure, Shah Rukh Khan? I want to do someone who is not living and maybe from the past, like who was not on Twitter or some mythological figure or something like that. Okay, so Ravan from Ramayana. So those who don't know Ravan was a demon from one of the mythological things in India.
But it cannot be fearful.
Sorry?
Fearful is incorrect word.
Maybe once in a while.
When Ram is coming for
Yeah, when Ravan is in fearful mood. Yeah. So while Ravan is in a fearful mood and he is streaming that response, let's look at the code and see what's happening here. How did we get to this? So in terms of C# or in terms of the SDKs, until last week there were only two programming languages supported, Python and what was the other one? JavaScript and Python, but over the weekend they have released SDK for C# and Rust. So just last week I did a YouTube video how to run this same thing, but that time C# SDK was not there. So I showed the other alternative without the SDK, but this morning when I went to the page, I saw that the SDK is already available. So all we need is to add the package, which will give us this Microsoft.ai.foundry local as the package reference, and then we can use that to get the model running. So here are some of the moods that we saw: joyful, sad, angry, fearful, surprised, and so on and so forth. The important part here is the Foundry local manager, which is using this start model async method and using the alias or the model ID to load that model. If the service is already running and the model is already downloaded to your machine, this will start immediately. Otherwise, it will download the model and then start from the scratch. Then we also get the model info, and then we pass some parameters here, like if we are connecting to the hosted model. This is where what we are saying about switching to the hosted model. We would need this API key, but for the local model, we don't really need the API key. For consistency purpose, I've put it here, and then we are creating the OpenAI client. So this is the same OpenAI client that we would connect to the Azure Foundry running on cloud, and then we are passing the endpoint. So this is the endpoint that localhost, whatever port the service is running on, and then finally we go and call the chat client. So we are creating an instance of a chat client here, and this is what I was telling earlier about the system message. So the way I have constructed the prompt here is to say you are an expert impersonator of celebrities. Always reply in the style, tone, and personality of the person whom you are impersonating, and use things like emojis, even slang if possible, to make it more realistic. and limit this to like 300 characters. So I can customize this prompt whichever way I want, and then it takes the actual tweet or the actual message that we want to respond to as a system message, as a user message, and then whatever comes as a streaming response in terms of the chat completion, we are streaming it back to the console. So all we need here to connect to the Foundry Local is this particular SDK with the AI Foundry Local and the OpenAI client. Yes.
Mood is selected randomly.
Mode is selected randomly.
It didn't study anything, it just select.
So the first time it doesn't select a mode, but then when I say yes and I want to continue, then it will randomly select a mode from the list.
So it did not do any like conclusion after doing some like reasoning or.
So based on your prompt and the mood, it will reason that and it will give the final response. So you see here, right, it says this is what it is all doing the thinking. How would Ravan do this in Ramayana? Then it would say, okay, I have to consider his mood somewhere in fearful.
Second line.
Yeah.
No, second line. The first paragraph, second line towards right.
Yeah, here in a fearful mood. And then this is your actual response based on all that thinking. Yeah, sorry, you had a question.
So what a model does is, so based on the probability, it will think, okay, this is the next probable thing.
Yes,
So for it to think like that, the information should be readily available, right? So
that's
let's
part
say
of the model training, right?
That's part of the model training.
Yes.
Let's say I have a PDF,
Mm-hmm.
a huge PDF, which I maybe I've crawled it and I have the index. How can I use
Maybe you can use the mic so others can also. Yeah.
All right. So the question is, if I have a PDF and let's say a huge PDF and I have like a knowledge base of something like that, and how can I use that, and how can I use a model to give that PDF as a data source, and then similarly like you did now, just ask questions. How do I create this? How do I create a user? How do I create a customer? And it spits out the steps and everything based on the PDF content.
Yep. So you will have to customize this part where I'm passing that or where I'm constructing that prompt, right? Right now it's just taking the system message, whatever I'm passing as a system prompt, and then it's taking the user message. You will have to add this with that whatever PDF content you have so that your prompt has that information.
Do I need to have the PDF call beforehand?
Yes.
And
If you don't want to do that, then you will have to use the MCP, or you will have to use the RAG kind of a pattern where you are passing what is the base model which is used and then supplement that information with additional sources.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much what I had. We did cover the code. Yep.
While running, you said it will automatically download the model.
Yes.
So will it download from Hugging Face automatically?
No, because this is those 17 models which I showed. If your Hugging Face model is already in your cache, then that can be used, because that model service, or the what's the name of the class, the one which is creating the model, it has access to the cache. Yep.
Cache is not specific to Foundry, like,
Cache is local to your machine.
okay, and we can specify this password.
Yes. Yep. So this Foundry Local Manager, this class has access to your cache.
That Foundry Local Manager, is that actually means that's a library that you should only do in the local developer, or it's the same library that you use for the, when you're actually looking for the
No, this is specifically for the Foundry Local.
Foundry Local?
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much what I had to show. Let's switch back to the slides and finish. So we looked at the Foundry Local CLI and also the .NET application. So this is how that structure of the .NET application was. We had the application code. We used the C# SDK to create the Foundry Manager, and we also use the OpenAI client to then interact with the Foundry Local service. And this is the service which manages or which interacts with the local cache and the model catalog. And we looked at the celebrity impersonator demo as well. So some of the key features of Foundry Local, they include on-device inference. So we can use this service to do the inferencing for the model, and this helps us to keep the data local to the machine. We don't have to expose it anywhere. It's a way of securing the data, and it also uses the local hardware. So we don't need very high-end hardware. Next is the model customization. In terms of the hardware requirements, you would need at least minimum 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you have anything less than that, your performance of the model will be very, very slow. Recommended is at least 16. The next one is customization. So we can customize the models, like we can override those settings if you know how to use or how to build your own custom model based on the base models. That's also possible. Cost efficiency is because we don't have the cloud cost. You can run everything local without having any internet connectivity. You just need internet connection to download the model. Once it's available locally, it's all running on your device, and you can use SDK, API and the CLI to connect to that model. Some of the use cases is for data protection. If you don't want data to go outside of your machine, where there is limited or no internet connectivity, again those situations you can use this Foundry Local. To reduce the cloud inference cost, again if you are doing just say like POC or you want to experiment with the models, you don't have to spend money on any of the cloud providers. Low latency again is another use case, and obviously experimentation. If you want to experiment with different versions of the model, for example, that's another use case. If you want to know more about this, there were multiple sessions as part of the Microsoft Build event, and I've put 2 of them here. Second one is actually Aaron Powell. He is Australian, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That's a good one, and he's talking about how to use .NET Aspire along with the Foundry Local. Hello.
It started running.
Okay, and these are some of the resources which you might find useful, and all this is published on SlideShare and SpeakerDeck. Again, my first name, last name is the easiest way to get to this. If you want to have a look at that code, that's on GitHub, and yeah. So thank you. Thanks for interesting.